This is a JTP Audio podcast.
Hello, welcome back. You are listening to Flight and a Pint podcast about beer and breweries and the people who make beer happen. My name's Jason Portizo.
I'm Walter Wilson.
Today we are at Little Dog Brewing is it Neptune City or Neptune Township?
Neptune City.
Okay, it's like right on the border.
It's a big difference.
Like if we cross the street, we're on
Neptune Township.
Right, and then if we cross the street again, we're on Neptune, the planet. It's like it's right on the crux of all these Neptunes going on.
That's right.
I've got Gretchen here. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
Great. Thanks so much for sitting down with us. This is awesome.
Thanks for stopping by my little brewery.
Yeah, 700 emails, and you're the nicest person who's gotten back to me yet. So this is.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
So tell me about where we are. Give me the brief history.
Okay, so we are at Little Dog Brewing Company in Neptune City on Steiner Avenue. What are the chances of finding a building on Steiner Avenue? It works on like so many different levels.
Right.
I've been here for 6 years. It'll be 6 years next month. We'll be celebrating our 6th anniversary. I haven't even really thought about what event we're going to do for, to kind of mark that date, because we've been concentrating on Oktoberfest because we are kind of a German. The beers I make tend to be more German and English influenced. I've been brewing for a long time professionally in New Jersey. I tend to be a more traditional brewer, and I tend to brew more classic styles. Therefore, English and German influenced ales for the most part.
Sure.
And what is the influence for the name Little Dog?
So it is not a dog-centered or themed brewery, which a lot of people seem to assume. I'm really the little dog. Kane was the first brewery in our immediate area. We have 7 now. I was the second to open, followed pretty quickly by Beach House in Belmar. They're just a mile and a half down the road. So I was definitely at 4 barrels. I was definitely the smaller of the 3. And that's kind of one explanation for the name. But I've always loved dogs. I'm definitely a dog person. I've always had big dogs. And a few years ago, my husband and I just kind of by chance got a small dog. And he was a Basenji. I had never heard of a Basenji before. Basenjis they call them pariah breeds. They're an ancient dog. They are the barkless dog of Africa. They are small, they are independent, they are tenacious, and they are very, very challenging to own. And I just fell in love with this little guy. And even though I'm kind of the little dog, the brewery is definitely named for our first Basenji, Quincy. We have a second one now. And again, it works at just a couple of different levels. But it's not really, we have, the merchandise featuring Quincy. Sometimes the beers have dog-related names, but it's not what you would call a dog-themed brewery.
Okay. Are there any dogs here right now that I can pet?
No, they're not.
All right, we're done here. So that's been Flight and a Pint.
Yeah, no. And Jasper, the successor to the original Little Dog Quincy, is not always very user-friendly. Mm-hmm. So he does come to visit, but I'm the only one in-house when he's here.
All right, and I always throw this hardball question at everybody. Are they good boys?
They try.
That's all I need. That's all
try.
I need. That's good enough for me. All right. Best interview I've had yet.
So before you got into brewing, what were you doing?
So I was an English lit major, like most brewers. And when I graduated from college, I got a job I kind of walked into a job at our local newspaper, which was really one of the larger papers in the country at the time, the Asbury Park Press. I had done some summer internships with them, and I was lucky enough to be hired on a full-time basis right after college. So my background is kind of like in feature writing and reporting, editing. Years later, after I left the press, I worked for another paper, a smaller paper. I did some editing, worked for a medical marketing company, and luckily was laid off from that job, which led to my second career in brewing, and that was in 1996.
Okay. And doing it ever since.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Let's check out what you've been up to. Let's get right into this. Now we're going to use the term flight kind of loosely here. Now, being the little dog and being a small brewery in a state that has a ton of breweries, I think we're up over 120 now.
At least,
across the
yeah.
state. So you have a very small menu, which I like. I like when there's like, when I don't get that analysis paralysis looking at a beer menu. So we've got a little modified flight here. We got 3 beers in front of us. Tell me about what's in our number 1 slot.
Okay, now you have to keep in mind that this is an Oktoberfest themed flight. Unfortunately, I am out of my flagship Gesundheit, which is really embarrassing to admit. But on the other hand, we've sold a lot of it, and that's why I'm out
It's
of it.
good that you sold out. I'd rather you sell them to people who are coming over
I
here.
I have it in the fermenter, and I'm transferring it over tomorrow, so we will have it this weekend coming.
I've had raw beer before. I'll do it.
Yeah. So the German flight was a Steiner Weiss, which is a German style wheat ale with the classic banana and clove notes, named for our street, Steiner Avenue. I was kind of really happy to think of that name. That seems to people love it.
It just came to me on the way to work.
Yeah. I think the first one is a little maybe on the funkier side, so I think Walter will like that. I hope you both like the lager. And Jason, you said you like something a little juicy, but maybe not so bitter. So can we drink them? Can we taste
absolutely,
them now?
I'm
Okay.
going to get into the Steiner Weiss
Yeah,
first.
we're
Yeah.
gonna start with the number 1 here. It's the Steiner Weiss wheat ale.
Oh, yeah, it does have a nice little funkiness to it.
Yeah, a little bit, and the banana's there too.
Yeah, with this beer, if you ferment it, again, it's the German wheat yeast. If you ferment it a little warmer, you tend to get a little more, banana notes. If you ferment it a little cooler, which I probably did with this one, you get a little more clove. You have to be careful with the banana. You don't want it to taste like bubble yum.
Right. No, this is definitely different than any other Hefeweizen styles that I've had, because it does have that funk, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I like it very much, and I'm tasting it now. This is probably the most. I usually just take a sip of them. It's pretty good. It really
And even with
is
that
pretty
funk
good.
there, it's not overbearing. It's not like it's not making you make the funk face. It's just there to kind of like just bring out those other notes and flavors. This is actually really good.
And it's about 4.5%. Nothing I do is really overpowering. I don't do anything that's overly hopped or flavored or really high ABV. This is about 4.5%. It's kind of on the low end of what I do. Most everything comes in at around 5%.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, we don't need to always have high gravity beers. Sometimes we just want to relax at home, have a good tasting beer, and maybe not get drunk.
It's a lot of work to drink a high gravity beer all the time.
I don't really drink spirits. I can drink wine without any problem, but a higher alcohol beer for some reason affects me differently, and I start to get that, I get that headache. It's not really, I drink beer for a lot of different reasons, but these beers are not session beers, really, by definition. They're a little higher gravity than that, but they are sessionable, and that's kind of important to me.
Now, we've already mentioned that you have a small tap list, but I've also noticed that you've won a couple of awards for your beers.
Yes, but not Little Dog beers. I was the brewer at Basil Teas in Red Bank. I was the brewer there for 12 years. And my stout won 3 medals at the Great American Beer Festival.
Awesome.
2 gold and a bronze.
That's impressive.
Over several years, yeah. And I do a stout here. I'm sorry that I don't have any dark beers on, because they're my favorites too. I did run out of the stout, and I wasn't able to. I'm kind of working at half capacity now because of, COVID has really meant a slowdown, I think. So I'm not brewing as much.
Depending when you're listening to this, we're in late October in 2020. This is 6 months or almost 7 months into the lockdown. That's something we've been addressing with a lot of breweries. What major changes have you had to make?
I'm doing most everything myself, which isn't so much of a change. I did have, I've had some really great apprentices, assistants, over the years, who've gone on to, kind of other brewing careers. One of them, Jeff Greco, opened Heavy Reel. He was my first apprentice. But so I've been kind of doing it. I've been doing it on my own. And then when COVID hit, it just didn't make sense to have anybody else in the brewery with me. I used to brew, roughly just, once a week. And now I find I'm brewing like twice a month.
Okay.
You're making even though I have a small system, you're still making 4 barrels of beer. And I'm just not going to go through it that quickly. And I really don't want it sitting around. So I'm doing fewer beers and, just trying to, to rotate some new ones in and out. But I don't have a big backlog. I don't have a lot of stuff in tanks.
Under normal conditions, how many beers would you have out at any given time?
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I kind of keep my menu small, and I do things a little bit differently than, well, in a lot of ways, but from some of my colleagues, I don't try to have something new on every single week. I think that's just kind of exhausting. So what I do is, and I wish I had my cans in front of me. I'm trying to build brands. And what that means is I'm pushing my Gesundheit German-style Amber Ale, my Duck Boy American Pale, my Seafarer Stout, my Local Girl Blonde Ale, my Porter, the Steiner Weiss I have in cans. But I really, the Pale, the Gesundheit, and the Stout are kind of the core beers. So I almost always want to have those available for people. But then I kind of mix in some more seasonal offerings to keep things interesting, because I would say half of the people who come in are looking for, a beer that they've had before. And the Gesundheit's the biggest seller. So really, I don't do more than that. When we do events, like back in the old days, when we would do like a cask.
Remember events, Walter?
Yeah, I remember.
We would do like a cask festival, and I would have another 3 or 4 beers on, and would set up the brewery with the casks. So there would be maybe 8, 8 or so beers, or more than that, maybe 10 beers on. But we keep it simple. In a small brewery, I think you can get away with doing that. I tend to change the beers not on a whim, but more seasonally. Like right now, we're kind of moving into the fall. We're going to have, the Oktoberfest beers are, going to kind of go away, and we're going to have a nice pumpkin beer. I have a nice spiced apple wheat, which is a really nice holiday beer. It is not cidery at all. It tastes like beer. I like to think my beers taste like beer. And then we're going to, of course, the porter, and then some kind of a holiday seasonal. And I think it's enough. It keeps people interested. It's easy to, to kind of keep that inventory. I do large format cans. I have approved labels for most of my styles, so I'm able to, kind of keep them in cans and keep them rotating through.
All right.
Speaking of an Oktoberfest beer,
Yeah,
we're going
let's
to try
drink
the
this.
Oktoberhund Lager.
Oktoberhund.
And the second one is, I love the lagers. I love, obviously, the German beers. This is Oktoberhund. It is again a traditional Märzen or Oktoberfest beer. It has the classic, a little malty sweetness to it. It's moderately hopped, but there's enough malt backbone that the hops don't knock you over. The overall impression of my beers is people say, "Oh, I like them because they're not too bitter," but really, I think it's because they're balanced beers and they are moderately to well hopped, but again, they've got enough malt, character to kind of hold up. Yeah, I don't know how we did it. I do a couple lagers a year, but we started sticking Hund, obviously the German word for dog, at the end. We've done like a Dunkelhund and a Rauchhund.
It's very good.
Yeah.
I do like the sweetness on this.
It's
not
nice,
overpowering.
isn't it? Yeah.
And good, medium body maltiness, too.
And I got some cool plastic, authentic German plastic steins to
Yes.
serve it in
Yep.
on the patio, and people are loving that.
Yeah, no, you go to Oktoberfest, you'll see these all over the street.
No, I mean, she's talking about these steins that she has here.
The steins.
Oh, the actual, I thought we were talking
Yeah.
about the cups we're drinking
Yeah.
out
Oh,
of.
no, they're plastic, and they look great.
Yeah.
Oh, those are
they
plastic?
Do.
Yeah.
They're plastic.
Oh, my. We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna get pictures of that. We'll get pictures of some of the cans that you have.
Yeah,
and,
sure,
and if
that'd
you
be
can send me a
great.
picture of a dog, I won't say no. But we'll share all that on our
All right.
Instagram. It's at Flight in a Pint. You can go
Perfect.
follow us there. You gotta pay the dog tax. And,
Yeah, but I think this is a nice beer.
I agree.
So, what would you say your non-beer hobbies are?
That's hard to say. I feel like I had a lot more before I got into beer and opened a brewery. I have dogs. I love my dogs. I love spending time with my dogs and my husband. And we have a fairly new house. It was a little bungalow, a little ramshackle bungalow that I bought in 1984. And a couple of years ago, we moved out and we completely gutted it and renovated it and made it a proper house. And so, it takes up a lot of time still. And, a lot of dog walking and entertaining dogs, especially the Basenji. The last 7 months have been kind of a drag, We haven't really been anywhere. We like to travel. We haven't been to New York. We haven't done a lot of things. So I kind of forget, I guess, what my holidays, my hobbies are.
Same with me. I mean, this was really a hobby of mine before we started doing a podcast. I'm into beer tourism, but a lot of places, especially I like to go to New York. A lot of places are being shut down and being shut down again because of COVID. We open up a little bit and then it seems like just have to close again.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the opportunity years ago to take a couple of trips with the Ale Street News. They sponsored some trips to Belgium, beer trips to Belgium, and I went out to one to Germany and Czech Republic. They used to go out to the Great American Beer Festival every year, and so that was always a fun thing to do. Great group of people, and you get to see a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily do on your own.
Yep.
So, if you have the opportunity to collaborate with any other brewery, whether local or non-local, give us the pipe dream collaboration.
I don't know.
Or do you prefer? Do you prefer not to?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really something that I'm that hot on. We have been talking about a collaboration with Heavy Reel for the last 2 years.
Well, it's your apprentice, right?
Yeah. But
that would be cool. Especially knowing the story, that'd be great.
Last year when I did when we had our 5th anniversary, which I thought was really kind of a big deal that we had made it 5 years, all my 3 apprentices came back and we brewed. My last guy, Peter, actually did most of the work, but Jeff came back for the brew day. And Travis Lancaster, who was my 2nd apprentice, he is brewing at Drowned Lands now up in New York.
Okay. Were you up there, Walter?
I haven't been to there, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fairly new. Yeah.
But
that was great. So we all kind of, that was kind of a fun thing. We got some good pictures. It was more of a photo op, I think, than anything
Nice.
else.
Yeah,
but no one cared.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
I've had parties for worse reasons. So. But we'd love to go up there and do an episode if you want to send over a quick little text or something. Tell us how cool we were.
All right. So what's this 3rd beer that we have here?
Okay, so this is now for something completely different.
Yes.
This is the Mosaic Pale. So this is my Mosaic Pale, and it's a pale ale base that's been, just dry hopped with a boatload of Mosaic hops. And for those not familiar with the Mosaic, those are one of the hops that give a beer like that really nice. It's more than a citrusy character. It's that kind of grapefruity, juicy character. People find it very appealing. Some people, when they hear it has like a grapefruit taste, they think it's a sour. And of course, sour and citrus and grapefruit are all very different.
Sure.
Very different things. And because it's dry hopped, you get just a lot of the flavor and aroma without getting a lot of the bitterness. Oh. It is not really, it's not really an IPA. If people want to call it an IPA, they can. But, the bitterness is a little bit low for an IPA. The alcohol is probably a little low. It's basically a pale ale base that I had on, I don't know how, what to me is a boatload of hops. Probably more hops than I've used in a year. But you get that nice, you still have it on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mosaic is one of my favorite hops.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And it kind of just rounds out everything else that we have on the menu, I think. And it's not the biggest seller by any means. And this one kind of comes and goes. But I definitely have it on a few times a year.
It's delicious. It went very well with this flight today, even though it might not be something that's normally on your classic flight, but it still went very well.
Right.
No,
Good.
it's still a good compliment.
Good.
This is this is great. What are some advantages or disadvantages that people might not immediately notice for being a brewery of your size?
It really depends on where you're coming from. I really don't see that many disadvantages.
Good.
The type, it's not a nano. No matter what anyone says, it's not a nano.
Sure.
It's 4 barrels. My kettle is actually like kind of 4 to 5 barrels. It's, if we were in the brewery, you'd see it's kind of a Frankenstein system. Nothing is perfectly matched. You're not you're not going from a 5-barrel kettle to a 5-barrel fermenter to a 5-barrel serving tank, whatever. It's kind of, pieced together. I think I did a really good job putting it putting it together with some components that I bought from some old time brewing friends, and it's worked very well. So the advantage is that it's very manageable. I mean, it's a lot of work no matter what.
Sure.
But it's very manageable. And, 4 barrels is a lot of beer, really. I'm not doing, especially now, I'm not doing a lot of distribution. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, to be driving all over the place to deliver a few kegs. So I'm keeping the beer here. As I said earlier, I'm not brewing as much as I had been for now. We're just kind of keeping it in-house. It's manageable. My capacity in the tasting room is 40, which is not really an issue. I have a lot of rules. I have a lot of rules, even before COVID. No dogs, no food. So people. It's not the kind of, and it's definitely a friendly, chill experience when you come here. I think people really, really like the taste room, and now they're loving the patio. Mm-hmm. But it's never been the place where you're going to come with your Scrabble board and hang out with the kids and order a pizza and spend the day. It's a tasting room. You're going to come and you're going to try the beer, and maybe you're going to have a couple pints. And then you're going to buy some stuff to go, and you're going to move on. And hopefully you're going to go to one of the places that carries my beer, where we have it on tap. So that was kind of how I conceived the whole thing. And that works really well, even on the patio with a limited number, half the seats that I have inside, if that. People come, they hang for a bit, and then they go. So it's kind of self-regulating. In terms of production, I'm very production-oriented. I've worked at a very busy brew pub. I've 2 very busy brew pubs. I've worked at production breweries. So it's not a hobby. I'm here full-time. This is my full-time job. It's not like I come at night. After my day job. So I have, I have the time to kind of do that. The size of the system has not been an issue at all. Also, the styles of beer that I'm doing, if I'm brewing 4 barrels, I'm yielding pretty darn close to 4 barrels. Some of the other styles where there's a lot of hops or there's, a lot of adjuncts, they may be brewing and yielding half of their batch size by the time they're done. So this is really, kind of cost effective, and it's just like a more practical way for me to do it. The disadvantages are right now I'm kind of at a crossroads. I had been doing the bomber bottles. I've been doing 22-ounce bottles, and I had a lot of success with those. And nobody really wants the bottles anymore, and that's fine. Like, everyone wants the cans. I bought a can seamer, and that was like the best money I ever spent.
Sure.
But those cans, I mean, it's basically crowlers, even though I'm very careful with the way I fill them. I purge them with CO2 and everything. Even though some breweries do it, they're not meant to be sitting on a shelf somewhere. Yep. They're, take them home and drink them, or put them in your fridge and leave them for a couple weeks and drink them. They'll be just as good. So I'm trying to find a way, and I have some ideas to get into cans in a practical, affordable way and get them out there, because I have stores that had the bottles, and now they want the cans, and I just haven't kind of gotten there. The equipment, the jump. Excuse me, 1 minute. Hi, I'm sorry, we're not open. Yeah, sorry about that.
So we record the show on site at the breweries, and I didn't want to like lean into this because like we mention it in almost every show, but like the second we started today, they started doing lawn work across the street. So so you guys listening, I get to hear all of the lawn mowings going on.
And I should have the chain up, but you don't know how hard it is to send away a customer. I was going to invite them in and stick them stick them at a table.
We'll get a guest host in 2 seconds.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So anyway, I've been looking into like small canning equipment, and the difference between there's a huge jump between like the can seamer that me and so many other people are using now, and a proper canning machine. I mean, it's like night and day. There's nothing really in the middle. So I'm just kind of trying to think outside the box. Like I said, I have a couple of ideas,
Sure.
And we'll see what I've really kind of written off 2020.
Yeah.
On my Oktoberfest.
Probably for the best.
On my Oktoberfest mugs, it says on the back Oktoberfest 2020, and I wanted to put under it the year everybody wants to forget.
Yep.
But
Just keep drinking until you forget. That's
yeah.
all. Here's a glass of
So
beer.
I mean, that's kind of I don't know if it's a disadvantage as much as a challenge.
Sure.
I mean, I wouldn't tell somebody, don't ever open a 4-barrel brewery. I wouldn't say that, because it depends on the location. It depends kind of on what you want to do with it.
Yeah, challenge is a much better way of putting it.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite style of beer, either the ones that you make yourself or some other type of style?
I really like the dark beers, and I think the stout is my favorite beer. It has, I like the style. I won a few medals for a stout, a classic dry Irish stout, when I was at Basil's, and I knew I wanted to do a stout here. I think it's a really underrated style, and I have every respect for people who make really strong stouts, imperial stouts, barrel aged stouts, whatever. I like just like a kind of a more traditional stout.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's an underrated style. I think a lot of people don't really know that much about it, and they shy away from it because it's dark, and they have this idea that it's bitter. It's just like it's got so much going on in it. There's really a lot of it's a nice complex beer, or at least it certainly can be. So the one I do is called Seafarer's Stout. And it's named for my father. My father has been gone for at least 15 years, and he and I were pretty close. And he was scratching his head about the whole brewing thing when I first got out of it. I think he was trying to figure out where the paying for 4 years at Mount Holyoke, kind of figured into all that. But he came around, and he worked until he was in his 80s. He had his own business. And he would stop on his way home. He would stop at Basil Teas sometimes, and he would have a stout. He was not a beer drinker. He was a merchant marine, but he was never a beer drinker. And he liked the stout. And I would say, "How's the stout, Dad?" And he said, "Tastes like another one." He would always say to me. So when
good answer.
Yeah. So when I decided I was going to brew the stout, I brewed it for the first time on what would have been his, I think, like 91st birthday or something like that. And I called it Seafarer's Stout. Just a simple name, but it's kind of a tribute to my dad.
Sure, that's great.
That's nice. I disagree with a lot of people who believe that there's a stout season. I believe that stout can be had all year round.
For sure. And I was out with with a friend of mine. Well, I was going to say not too long ago, but it was at least 7 months ago, and we got salad somewhere, and there was really not a lot that was appealing on the menu, and we ended up with like 2 pints of Guinness to go with the salads. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Guinness
but
and salad.
so I like the dark beers. I don't like, I like a nice porter. I do a really nice porter. It's more of a brown porter than a robust porter.
Okay.
kind of a heartier brown ale.
Yeah, that's fine.
I like it.
I'm totally fine with
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. You have to come back. Promise me
will.
you'll come back when
we
I have
definitely
that.
will.
I do not live far. So
Yeah. And then I also like the pale ales. I think that's a really good indicator of the quality of a brewery.
I can agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if I go out, like I used to, whenever I went to a new Chinese restaurant, I would always order the hot and sour soup. I'm like, let me see how they do it, you know? And if I didn't like that, I wouldn't really order anything else. But the pale ales, I mean, I think, you know, there's definitely an art to these more traditional styles. And, you know, there's I'm not a real stickler for the styles, but it's you know, for the parameters. But there is kind of a parameter, and a pale ale should taste a certain way. I mean, you've got a range, of course, but what some people think are pale ales, I would definitely disagree.
Okay.
But I love a good pale ale, and I'm rarely disappointed when I go out and I order, because it's a style that I think everybody likes, and I think most people do a very good job with it.
And everyone brews them.
And everyone brews them, especially now.
You know you're going to be able to walk in and get probably 2 or 3 different kinds of pale ales.
Yeah. So just a quick funny story. When I was working for the first brewery I worked for was Red Bank Brewing Company back in '96. They were a 30-barrel lager brewery in downtown Red Bank. Wow. And they were not open. I think they were probably open 4 years, maybe a little less. And the time just wasn't right for them. Made really great beer, but it was just not, the time just wasn't right.
Sure.
But at the time, the breweries, they were one of the first breweries in New Jersey. And we didn't call them craft breweries back then. We just called them microbreweries. So they were one of the first microbreweries to open, and followed very quickly by, they were not the first, but followed very quickly by, you know, more and more. And what was everybody's flagship back then? Amber Ale. Amber Ale. So the owner, a guy named Tom Clark, who now has a place in Pennsylvania called Berwick Brewing, he would be like, I can't believe it's another Amber Ale. And he actually had a banner made that we took to festivals and had it displayed, and it said, no offense, but the last thing the world needs is another Amber Ale. So I think a couple of things are funny. You know, I mean, I think it's funny that, you know, the Amber Ale is not quite as popular as it was back then, and I think it's funny that my flagship is an Amber Ale.
Almost as funny as the fact that they're still mowing the biggest lawn. How big is this lawn?
It's not that big.
But
they do a good job on it. Yeah, sorry.
Individually mowing each blade of grass. I think you heard us.
Yeah.
Hope you're listening, guy.
Yeah.
But
you know, my
the places
point
we've been to, I don't even think I've seen an Amber Ale on most of these menus.
So my point is really just that, you know, in the years that I've been in the business, and I think I can say that in the industry, here's my FedEx. I hope it's my pretzels.
He's got pretzels on in.
Pretzel drop.
Those are my pretzels. Do you need me to sign?
That's fine.
Oh, Schmidhausler. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
I might leave that in. Because I'm a very lazy editor.
Hey, you know, one of the, not to change the subject, but one of the hardest things about running a brewery, and I don't know how people who are trying to do it part-time manage this, is getting the deliveries. It doesn't matter. You can be here, you know, 8 hours, 10 hours a day. The minute you run out to the bank or to grab lunch, you miss a delivery.
Yep.
You know, it's crazy.
They know. They wait till you leave.
Well, they do that.
Oh, they're around the corner and be like, hold on.
Yeah.
She's gone. Go.
Yeah.
Eagle has left the nest.
But you know, I've seen a lot of changes in the industry. I've seen a lot of you know, I have to say, it's not like we've seen any beers that somebody has said, oh, these are just fads, they're going to go away. Nothing has gone away, but things have fallen and, you know, have kind of declined in popularity. Sure. And others have risen. When I started working at Basil Teas, the most popular beer was a filtered American wheat beer. And that was kind of their answer to like a Budweiser, you know, to the Bud drinkers, because they got rid of, when they were a regular restaurant, and then they became a brew pub, and they got rid of all their, you know, they got rid of their tap list and just had their own beers. So that filtered American wheat was the most popular beer. 12 years later, when I left, it was the pale ale. And, and that was long. That was in 2011. So that was long before kind of the IPA, craze, if you want to call it, or the rise of the IPA is, I guess, a
The
better
IPAs
way to
definitely
say
took
that.
over.
Yeah.
We're in a seltzer thing right now.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Now,
Yeah.
that I think is a fad.
It's hard to recognize a fad when you're in the middle of a fad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how long they stay as popular as they are.
I've got 10 pounds of table sugar and some raspberry flavoring in the other room, and I just haven't had a chance to throw it together yet. So we'll see.
We'll wait till the tourists come
But
back.
I'm not gonna commit too many resources or too much
Sure.
time to it.
Understandable.
But like you said, they don't. Maybe they won't go away, but their dominant popularity is
Yeah.
going to flux with everything.
Yeah, and a good way to kind of track that too. I've been judging it out of the Great American Beer Festival for the last, 13, 14 years, if that maybe. And you start getting like in an experimental category, you start getting, a lot of the same type of beer, like a black IPA, and then eventually it becomes, if not its own category, a subcategory.
Sure.
And you kind of see that happen.
We've had some good black IPAs.
Mm-hmm.
Gretchen, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Great. Yeah, no, this was
Talking
fun.
shop, talking beer. Where can we find more information on you?
Well, I'm definitely on Instagram. I hate Twitter, even though I'm on Twitter.
Good,
but
so do we.
Yeah, good. Instagram and Facebook. I have a newsletter that you can sign up on through my website, which is littledogbrewing.com. The website is in flux right now because this is good time. We didn't really, just real quick, we didn't really talk that much about like the whole COVID situation. But I've been lucky enough to get a couple of grants, and one of
Good.
them was from New Jersey Economic Development. To have my website / e-commerce upgraded, and I got a nice grant from them, and I have some guys working on that right now. So the website is maybe kind of temporarily down here and there until it kind of gets up and is a little bit better than it had been.
Awesome.
What I love about your website is that how we put this together was I went onto your contact page, filled out the little email form, and you yourself got back to me
Sure.
in
Who
minutes.
else? Who else is there?
So and that's one of the huge things, and one of the things that I had in mind when I was asking about advantages of running a place that's relatively small, where you are the majority of the staff, is you're going to get right to the source and right to the top of the company pretty easily.
Yeah.
If you need to contact anybody.
Time for one very quick story?
Sure. Please.
Okay, so Jeff Greco, who now owns Heavy Reel, the story with Jeff is he was hoping to go to the same brewing program that I did, American Brewers Guild, and he hit a couple snags along the way, and so he wasn't sure what was going to happen. So and this was this is when I first opened, like 2014, 15, something like that. So what he did was he sent out an email to every brewery in New Jersey, which wasn't all that many, 60 at the time,
Sure.
maybe something like that. And he says, you were the only one who got back to me. And I got a great intern for 6 months.
Just for answering an
So
email.
yeah, it worked out really well. He's like, all I want to do is work for someone for free. And I was like, come and see me. Yeah. I'll talk to you.
I owned a very small recording studio for a couple of years, and same thing. Every intern that reached out to me, anybody, if you even heard of me and were interested enough to send an email, I'll take you. I can work for you.
Yeah.
There's so much to do,
But it worked out really well. So yeah, you never know with the emails. You never know if somebody's a customer. Even when you get the crazy, solicitations on LinkedIn or whatever. I'm like, should I friend this person because they're just going to start bombarding me with whatever. But you never know whether someone's really is a fan of yours and they come to the brewery. I try to be very careful and try to be nice to everybody.
Yeah.
Within reason.
And so take some advice, maybe answer your emails, and maybe you might end up on a cool podcast too if you want to answer your emails every now and again, people. All right.
There you go.
Well, also, before we go, one other thing I want to say is everyone we spoke to who knows you has spoken very highly of you.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the
That's
nicest
nice.
people in
Absolutely.
brewing.
That's nice.
And we were very, very honored to be able to come here and speak with you today.
I hope you didn't talk to Brian Kolbaki at departed souls. He calls me the Mother Goose of brewing in New Jersey.
Yeah, we haven't been there yet.
Not yet, but maybe soon.
Yeah, very good.
But all right, I think that's all we got.
Good.
Gretchen, thank
That's
you so
enough.
much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll definitely come back here. We'll go on and take some pictures. We'll get those up on our Instagram as well. You can find our stuff at flightinapintpodcast.com. We'll give you a page full of links. You can find our Instagram, our YouTube, our Facebook, and our Patreon too is on there as well. We're going to grab some stuff. We're going to give them away in the Patreon, so you can go ahead and follow us there to get some information on that. Anything you want to throw in, Walter?
No, just that my name is Walter Wilson.
You got it all in there. My name's Jason Portizo. That's Walter Wilson. Gretchen was our guest today. We're here at Little Dog Brewing. Come check it out. Grab some beer, and we'll see you next time on Flight in a Pint.
Have a good
Cheers,
one.
Guy. Thank you.
Sancha. Or Prost.
This has been a JTP Audio podcast. Thanks for listening.